Put it on this computer. There we go. See, by the end of this, we'll have things down a bit better.
Right. Just in time to forget it for the next time.
Well, everything's the rooms, the computers, and the Zoom sessions.
Yeah.
So I will. I just took a copy of one of the workshops from this morning, and I shared it. Pam is online, and I'm going to share it with you as well. What is your email?
Catherine C.
Okay, yeah,
C.
with a C?
Yeah, C-H-P-R-I-N-E.Sullivan.
There we go. Okay. It just was because I tried Sullivan and there were so many people. You know, it's okay. Because it was drawing from my campus email address. So what we're going to do is actually just open this one up. A couple things I'd suggest. One is that if you have a mobile device, download Google Docs and download Google Slides so you have the ability to create and edit or present from your mobile devices as well. You don't have to do that now, but it makes these even more useful because then you can have everything stored right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go directly to a folder, and I just shared a file, which was one we used this morning for a slide presentation, and we're just going to work through that. And one of the nice things about Google Slides, as with any other Google document, is that you can edit them jointly. So if you can log into your Google account, what you may want to do is go directly to slides.google.com. Actually, I can do that too up here. So if you just go to Slides, you can either go to your Google Drive account and look at what was shared with you, or you can go to slides.google.com, which is just another way of accessing them, except this will access anything there. So in there, under Shared with You, you should have, or you can get to it by clicking on the Not Owned by Me, because it was shared. You should see something that says Copy of MOOCs for Professional Development, and we're just going to open that up. And then we can look at it, and we see that the editing tools look a lot like the editing tools in PowerPoint or most other presentation software. So we now have a slide deck, and we'll talk about how to add slides, how to do transitions, and all the other things in there. But basically, if you want to type something, you get the usual types of things here where you could insert a text box, you could select something, you could block something out and copy and delete it just like you could in PowerPoint or other tools. I see you're in there. And okay, and there's Pam. Okay, so the nice thing is you can do this collaboratively. And I had students do this a couple of years ago when I was teaching a TOEL course where they were creating some presentations where I had groups of 4 students. 2 of them were in Mexico and 2 were here. And I had, I think, 5 or 6 or 7 groups like that. And so they were able to work collaboratively in putting presentations together. And they could talk about it while they were doing it by running Google Hangouts. Do you need power? Or?
I don't know if I'm going to eventually. But I'm good right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good right now, but if I get there to get low.
Yeah, there's no power in the middle of the room, I don't think.
Is the next class?
The next one is in 123 Penfield. Well, if that's for the Apple TV one, or is it?
It's the plagiarism one, or integrity.
Academic integrity. I think that's in Library Classroom 2.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the next one in here I think is on Workplace or Apple TV, and then okay. In any case, you can go in. This is just a copy. This is not the actual slideshow we use. And just going back a bit, when it was in, where is it? That was the wrong folder. It's under here. Let me move this down. Well, you can't see it remotely, but this was the original workshop. If you want to make a copy on it, all you have to do is right-click and choose Duplicate, and it will create another version of it. And that's not a bad thing if you want to make new versions of it. So, for example, if I'm doing workshops that I'm going to do repeatedly, but a shorter or longer version of it, I'll just take the original one, make a copy of it, and then add the date to it or something similar. But in any case, let's go back over to the actual editing software. And you can edit it either by going to Google Drive account and clicking on it, or by going into slides and just clicking on it directly, and it will open. Either way, it'll open in the Google Slides editor. And now you have the option.
It doesn't have the editing.
You should have editing, right?
I mean, I'm editing, but it doesn't have the bar at the top. Did I not open it?
No, I'm not sure why. Scroll up a little bit, maybe. Is it? Maybe I didn't share it with editing rights. No, because you have the rights to edit it. Pam, do you have edit rights there?
Controls hidden. Press escape to show control.
Okay, so yeah, you're supposed to, somehow you must have set them off. So press the escape key and you should, there you go. Okay, so now you got that. So you have the option of hiding the controls while you're in there. And at some point you probably did that when you were in there. So there's the first slide. What? Oh, okay. No, that's, it's someone else working with us, I think. Somehow they logged me into Zoom from another account, which we had that happen earlier today. So you can go in and, Pam, you're there, you can type something and we can all see it, and we can see where you are because you have a different colored marker. If you're looking on the screen here, you can see you're in purple. There we go. So you could edit however you want. And then you have the editing tools are very much like you could do with anything else. If you didn't like the color, you can go in and change a color, and the color is right here. So you, we could make that yellow if we didn't, oh, that's the background color, and that's really ugly. But then all you have to do to change that is, oh, that's a fill color. Let's make that back to the light blue again. Well, that wasn't quite the one, but you know, you've got the same capabilities that you would have, and that one's too dark. Maybe, oh well, you can do it however you want. But you probably wouldn't do it quite like that. But if you wanted to change the font color, you would use the other color tool, which is what I thought I was going to do, which is right here. So now I can make that, I should be able to make that yellow, but something is going wrong. That's the border color. Okay, so somewhere in here there is a pen color, and
right there. Now, one more. Keep going. Other way.
That's the border, though. It's not the actual color. And I thought that was it. And this is a fill color. And
if you want to do your text, maybe.
Is it a?
Change. Do the T. For text, maybe.
No, that's to create a text box. So if we want another box of text, just like in PowerPoint, you can create a text box and then type it in. But I'm not seeing the color, and I change this all the time, and I'm not, oh geez. Somewhere in here, there is a color tool, and I'm not sure where it went. So that's how you change the background. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter that much. But I'm not seeing the text color. Fortunately, Google has good help if we needed to. Oh, here it is. It's way over here. So if we wanted to change the text color, we would then block out the text, select the text, and then it was right here, and we can make that yellow. There we go. Okay. So it's not, I expected it to be by the background color, and it wasn't. Sorry about that. But then if you want to create, well, you can go through and edit the slides. If you want to duplicate a slide, and if you have a slide that's going to look similar to it, you'd make a new copy, and you can either do that by right-clicking on the slide and click duplicate or delete the slide or skip the slide, do whatever you want. Let's say we're going to duplicate this slide, and now it creates another one just like it, and that way you can fill it out if you like the formatting or something similar. It's very much like PowerPoint. And you can import PowerPoint, and you can save as PowerPoint. So let's just go up there. You notice there's an option to download it. You can download it as a PDF, as a JPEG, as images for the current slide or for all of them. You could download it as a PowerPoint set. You could download it in open document format, which is what OpenOffice uses, which is a standard the European Union has adopted. PowerPoint also lets you save things in that format. You could save it as plain text if you didn't want the formatting and you just wanted the text. Sometimes people do that if they're creating an outline of a talk or a presentation. They'll just save a text version of the document that they can share with people. You could share it as an image, or you could share it as scalable vector graphics. And the advantage of that is if you're going to have it blown up on a big screen. So if you're going to have something on a big billboard or something, or on a Diamond Vision screen in a conference hall, you can create it as vector graphics, so it scales without losing resolution. It converts all the text and images to vector graphics. Although the images, you'd be limited by the original resolution of the image if they were JPEGs or whatever. So, and you can delete it, you can move it to a new folder, you could import slides and it will import things from PowerPoint and so forth. I didn't bring any here, but if someone emails you a PowerPoint presentation and you want to save it, if you double click on it, it will give you the option of saving it as, or let me rephrase that. If you, when you open it in Gmail, you have the option of opening it in Google Docs, or you could save it in your Google Drive directory. So if you save it as it is, it will save it as a PowerPoint document. But then it's harder to get people to work on things collaboratively. But if you choose to open it in Google Docs or Google Drive, it will convert it into a Google Sheets document, or it'll give you that option. And if you choose the option of opening it in Google Sheets, then it will convert the PowerPoint into Google Sheets. And it's getting better and better at that. Sometimes you lose a little formatting. Sometimes some of the animations don't exactly align. Sometimes the fonts may be different. You may have some fonts on your computer that aren't available in Google Drive, but fewer and fewer of those issues show up. Sometimes some of the animations and paths don't quite work, but it's usually pretty easy to adjust them. If you want to make changes in the slide format, if you didn't like the slide, you can go up to, one more time. Let's do it for the slide over here. You can go up here, and for the slide, you have the option of changing the background color or background image. You could apply a layout, and there's a whole series of layouts for each slide. Each choice of style, you can get different slides, and they usually come with a title slide, a section header, a title and body, title with 2 columns, title only. The same types of slides you get in PowerPoint. So if you want something where you only have a caption or only an image or 2 columns of text with that, you can just choose that, and it's going to look kind of ugly when we do it because, well, it just kind of moved it over here. And then you could put in PowerPoint. You can put in bullet points if you want, because that's what people often do with PowerPoint slides or Google Slides. You could put an image there, and you do that by clicking on Insert Image, and then you could upload it from a computer, or you could grab something that's in Google Drive or in Photos, or you could grab it by, if it's on the web and there's a URL for it, you can paste the URL. Or if you're working on a device with a camera connected, which could be a laptop or it could be a mobile device, you could take a picture directly from your camera and snap a picture, and it would go right into the document. So
how do they do that? You're probably going to get to it, but where they add another, like say they add another bullet point, is that just a whole new slide with those? You just go to another new slide, or? So
you want another bullet point on here?
Well, like say you first talk about free and lets you, so you'll have one slide that says that, then you add on then you start talking about the next thing, and a lot of people put the next bullet point on the next one. Is that just moving on the next slide, or doing it as having one thing appear at a time? One thing appear at a time. Okay, so let's do that. And I think we already did this, so let's just add another one. And what we can do here is we can see whether there's any sort of animation here. And what you click on here to check it is you insert, while you're on the slide, in that text box, you would insert animation. And it turns out there's already
animations here. Let's delete it. Let's delete that by clicking on that, and we'll remove this. And there's another one here, so we'll delete that. So now there's no animation here. So we're in this text box, and what we're going to do is we're going to select the object to animate, which is a text here, and we're going to choose an animation. And right now, the default typically is a fade-in animation, but you have others. So very much like you do in PowerPoint. So you could choose an appear animation where it just appears one by one, or you could choose a fade in. I usually use a fade in, but you could have it fly in from the left where the whole thing moves from outside to the right.
And so forth. Kind of like turn around.
So you can do, yeah, they don't have quite as many as PowerPoint. Let's move this out of the way here. So the options are just these basically. You do have a spin, so you can have it spin in. You could have it zoom in where it will, it starts out big and gets small, or zoom out where it starts, or you can, let's try it. Let's try zoom out and let's see what happens. And the way you do it is you would click play, and there it is. So that was it. But now you notice it all came in at once, but what we want to do, that will take that whole text box and do the zoom in or zoom out at once. But if you click on this, you have the option of by paragraph. And the by paragraph will do it bullet point by bullet point, which is what you were asking about. So now if we click play, oh, this is this, okay. I somehow lost, this was a slide transition. Let's go back to the text, there we go. And so now it's doing the zoom out. So yeah, and that's kind of ugly.
Zoom out means it disappears.
Yeah, I usually use just simply this, and if we play it now, what's going to happen is each time you press the return, you'll see it coming in point by point. But we could have instead done it with a, we could have it do a fly in from left, and then click play to test it, and you can again use the cursor keys, and you could do something like that.
It doesn't happen on it like after 5 seconds.
No, well, you do have the option of inserting timings, but that's a little more complicated. So you could do that and time it, but usually in a presentation you want to control it because sometimes there may be questions or other things. So it's probably better not to do it based on timings, unless you had a recording that you were sequencing something to. So if you had an audio track and you wanted the PowerPoint to align, then you'd want to set timings on it.
I want to make sure I'm not missing something that AS, DAS, it's not something.
Oh, that I just typed just to get another bullet point. So to add a bullet point, you just do, you know, I just didn't want to type words because I'd probably screw it up. So, and you can have multiple animations, so you could put other things in there. Now, one difference between PowerPoint and Google Slides is in PowerPoint, when you have the option in both PowerPoint and Google of creating a, I think it's under View, you could choose a slide master. And one more time, the master slide under both PowerPoint and in Google Slides, you can edit the appearance of their slideshow by editing the master. So if you want to, we're not actually going to change it here, but you pick the type of slide, you can choose the formatting, the type of bullet points, the fonts, and the size of any component. So because Rebecca had, well, this is just for this slide. So what you could do here is we could, for example, make this boldface, or we could make it italicized, or we could underline it. And at that point, anything in the slideshow that's using this master title style will have that as the default format. So you could edit the master, and it will format the fonts, the colors, the text, the fonts, and everything else for the whole slideshow. You could do it for individual slides.
Important and helpful because that's somehow when I try to do mine, I get off on like organizational.
So yeah, so you can create a master style that you like, save it, and then use that in future slideshows, or whenever you add a new slide with that same type, and you can do this for each of those. So for each of the layouts, you can define a custom style. But in terms of animation, in PowerPoint, you have the ability to define the animations on the master slideshow. This is one of the most commonly requested features in Google Slides, but it's not there yet. So what you have to do is you have to add the animations to each slide, or the first time you use a given slide style, you put the animations on it, you duplicate it, and then you just redo the text on that, and then it will save that animation style, which is what I normally do. So the first time I use a slide with bullet points, I'll set the animations on that, and whenever I want another slide with bullet points, I will duplicate the slide, delete the text, and put in whatever text I want for the next slide. So in other words, let's go back, and we had, we're going to leave the master. We're not actually going to save that because we don't want to change the style on this, because this looks so nice here. But let's go back to the one we were just working on. Where was that? Here we go. So now we have this animation here, and if we play it, we'll see that it does in fact work. As we press return, each one zooms in from, or flies in from the left. If we want to do another one that's just the same, we go back up here. We'd either right click or click on insert, duplicate the slide, and now we have, you know, new text here. So we would put, you know, we'd go up here and we'd edit this and say, you know, we'd just say new slide, because I'm not, see, that's why I said it's probably better if I don't do any serious typing. But we now have a new slide, and it has the same formatting. And here we'll just get rid of this, and we'll call this point A, and then point B. And the formatting is preserved when you duplicate the slide. So as long as you apply the formatting you like, just go through and add it to all the others. On the other hand, it's not that hard to add animations. All you have to do is go to the next slide, choose insert animation, or you have the option in terms of view of showing the animations tab, and that'll be right there. There's already an animation here, which is a fade in. If you don't like that, you can just click on it and change that. And you can do it, by the way, either on click or immediately after the previous item. So if you want two things to appear together, so let's say you want text and an image to appear together, you would animate the text, you would have the image as the next object that you select, and then you would have after the previous rather than on click. Otherwise, you have to click for the picture to appear after the text. But if you do it with after the previous, it will immediately appear as long as the other one did first. Or actually, there is an option with previous, sorry. So it would be with the previous item. Okay. What else? You know, the basic formatting options are all the same. You get some more up here, where here you have the ability to, for example, indent. So if you want sub-bullet points, which is, we had all those levels in the master slide, all you have to do here is click like this, and then everything's back there as long as you put something on each line. So now we have these sub-bullets, and when you're done, you just go back up here and bring it back to the higher level. So that's how you do these types of things, and you can again define different animation for the subpoints, have them appear together, or just leave it by default, and it will include the fade in. So when we play it, we'll see that it does in fact animate them in the same way for the sub bullet points as it did for the main one. But you have the option of defining that block and doing it differently if you'd like. Let's see. If you want a new text box, you just click on the text box. We did that already. This would let you select some objects. So if you want to delete some things, we just do that, and then you could press delete or whatever. You have the fill. We already saw kind of by accident. This will let you, for borders, adjust the thickness of it. This will let you have a dash border around an object. Sometimes people have a PowerPoint slide where they put a dash border or border around a frame, around a text box or something similar. You can choose it from there. You've got the fonts there, and it's whatever fonts you have on the computer, available at least to the browser. And other things you can insert, you could put in slide numbers if you want. You could insert a table, and you just go over. So if you want a 3x3 table, you just go over 3 rows by 3 columns. If you want a 3x5x2, you just go there. You could go down to a 5x5 if you want, and then you just have that, and you can just start typing in the text box. And if you want, you can make them wider or smaller. You can make them wider or smaller by just dragging it over, in either way, and the same with the rows. And then you can just type in. You could just type in the box. You have other options. You could, very much like PowerPoint, you could go in and you could merge those cells if you just want a title row there, and then you could center it by just going up here. Yeah, these are, you know, the same types of things with very similar controls to pretty much any tools. We can go over here if we wanted the title centered. So now we have a centered title, and you know, you just type whatever it is.
Is it possible to do like a PowerPoint? Like, say you have a slide, and part of the instruction would include the class helping you fill in the slide. Could you fill in the slide up on the PowerPoint or up on the screen, or no?
From while you're doing it live?
Yeah, like say, like, I don't know, it was, you know, times tables, and you did 2 times 3 equals, and then.
And have students do it?
And yeah, then answer it, and you have, not them fill it in, but tell you what to fill in, and then you would.
And type it in? Not really, because when you're in presentation mode, it's only going to display it. There are other apps and tools that let you do it, but not really.
Okay.
You could let students, you could share the document with students and have them fill it out and then present it, but you wouldn't be able to directly go in and, you know, and edit it on the fly, at least not as far as I'm aware of.
Okay.
Because if we were presenting it, it goes up full screen, and then the only options you have is to go forward and backwards and so forth, because it's just presenting. So you could always stop the presentation and then get the responses, type it in, and then put it up. Or you could share it with students, and if they have devices, even smartphone, they could type in things, and then you could put it up, etc.
I'm not even sure it's anything I would want to do.
But unfortunately, you can't really edit the text boxes on the fly, as far as I'm aware, without going into edit mode.
Right.
What else? In terms of moving slides around, you got that thing on the left, very much like PowerPoint. You can just drag it to wherever you want. So if we want this to be the first slide, you just move it up there. If you don't like that slide, we can just right click and choose delete. Right click, and there we go, delete. You can undo and redo. You could directly print it. Other options.
Is there a, we could print it, and you can print it by, could you just do it, printing it in the text version?
So you can print it directly. It basically creates a PDF that's then printed.
Can you reduce it to just text printout where it's not slide by slide?
For the whole document, then what you would do is you would save it as text, and then it would be a text.
Okay.
By default here, yeah, you don't really have many options there. That you just get to choose. It creates one slide per page by default from this print option. However, if we exit from here by cancel, so we do have the option though of doing a save as, and when we do this save as or download as, then you could save it as plain text, and that would only extract the text from the file, which you could then print, you know, paste it into a document or whatever. What else?
Can you print it so there's like 3 or 4 slides per page?
I don't think you can. Like in PowerPoint, you do have that ability. I don't think that, I may be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think you have that option, because when we, well, wait, maybe it's under print settings. Yeah, here we go. So you have the option of doing, so it's a little different than PowerPoint, but you have the option of doing 1 slide a page, 2 per page where they're stacked down a page in portrait mode, 3 slides or 4, you know. And then once you do that, you could then print it in whatever format. So that's pretty much the same. You could hide the background color if you just want to print the text, so you're not using all your ink up. You could download as a PDF and share it. You could include or exclude any slides that you marked as skipping, and then you could print it right from this menu. One other thing though, we're pretty much out of time, but one other thing I did want to show, and this is one of the most powerful tools for this for presentations during a conference, is if you click present and you go over to present and you click on the drop down, If you choose a presenter view, you get a really useful tool. And the tool here is this, where we can start a new session here. And what will happen is it opens another window, and this works fine if you actually have two screens. So you have a presenter and another screen that's projected on the projector. You could see both. We're just going to minimize this now. But when you do the presentation now, what's going to happen is, we'll start the slideshow. What will happen during the show, and we'll make it full screen. So now this is what students would see. And at the top, they get that address. If you go to that address, it's a little box where you could type things in. You could type comments, questions, etc. And other people would have the option of voting those questions or comments up or down. So if you ask people for feedback, they could be providing feedback here. And when I use this, I often will have another device, an iPad or an iPhone or another laptop, logged into that where I can see what people are typing. So if you go in there, you can try it. We're pretty much, I got to get to the next session, but what I could do is I could click this and I could see it. And what would happen here is I'd be able to see any comments here. In this case, it was going only for people with Oswego accounts. If you set it to anyone, it'll work with people wwho aren't logged into an Oswego.edu. And it's a really nice tool. And if you're doing conference presentations or other things, you could get feedback from anyone if someone's reluctant to raise their hand and ask something. Okay. Any questions, Pam? The best thing I just suggest is just playing with